So today, as promised last week, I want to focus in on one thing, and that one thing is hope. I have hope. I have hope. I have hope. You're welcome to say that with me if you'd like. I have hope. I have hope. I have hope. If you forget everything that happens here today and you don't remember much, I want you to at least hold on to this. I promise you that when voices of failure, fear, pain, and regret surround you, there is hope. There is hope. There is hope. Who here among us has not heard the voice of failure ruminating around in here? Could have done better. I wish things would have worked out much differently. I really failed at that, and I don't know how to make it better. And those voices of failure can get deep within the soul and get you pretty discouraged. Amen? And who here hasn't felt that voice of fear ruminating around up in here? You know, fear that the world just isn't what it could be, and I'm scared with the way things are going, or this kind of fear traps me and it doesn't allow me to live outside myself. So I build up walls and I shut down and I circle up and I live only for self. But then I'm cut off from other people and it hurts. It leads to a lot of pain, and that voice of pain, once I've been injured, can I love again? Can I serve again? Because the last time I did that, look what happened. It didn't work out for me. And then again, those voices of regret. Well, we're not called to be a shoulda, woulda, coulda kind of people. We're not a shoulda, woulda, coulda kind of church, right? I need to feel some love 10 o'clock. I just need to feel so. I just came back from church camp where it was all on all the time. We can't be this quiet. I'm dying up here. Come on now. So regret, we say no to that. And I've said so many times that you know, if the devil, the evil one, the world can get you discouraged, then they win. Because when your head is down and your shoulders slump and you begin to believe that that's just the way it is, well then look at how you begin to treat everybody around you. Look at how you start treating every single situation and think, you just kind of throw your arms up. Again, you can't live that way. God doesn't want us to live that way. God says there is hope. There is hope. Reminds me of Jack. I was doing my CPE in Omaha, Nebraska years ago, the heartland of America. Omaha, touchdown, Super Bowl champion. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Love you all, Seahawk fans. You had your one, we got ours too. But Jack was in and out of the hospital with cancer. And he had lived a good long life, but he was getting to that point where things were getting tough. And I go visit him, and the visitor logs showed that I was spending a lot of time with Jack. My supervisor even came to me and said, "Why are you spending so much time with Jack?" Well, I could sit there and just listen to his stories. He was just one of those wonderful, phenomenal people who's walked the face of the planet. Just energized by him. But one day we were sitting together, and this was within weeks of the end of his life, and he just broke down. And he wept. And he said, "Chad, I think I've missed it. I've missed it." He said, "I lived my life, gave so much to my work and all the other stuff that I thought was so important. And most of the time I looked past my children. And now I don't really know if they know exactly how much I really love them. I missed it." And I wept with him and I said, "Jack, you know what? I got good news for you. We got a telephone right there. You still got life and breath. You know what we're going to do today? We're calling your kids." And so we picked up that phone, we dialed, and Jack, through tears, telling his kids just how much he loved them. No regret. Pour it out. Live life to the full. You know, a lot of people have this phrase, God won't give you more than you can handle. Ugh. That's just a bunch of gobbledygook kind of speak to make us more self-righteous, that I'm supposed to be so strong and I'm so good and I'm so self-sufficient that I'll finally get it together.
It's not biblical.
It's not biblical. The reality is what we profess is we need God and we need each other. I can't do this, but God at work within us, more things will be possible than we could ever ask for or imagine. There is hope, and his name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. And our hope is backed up by God's promises that take place within Jesus' very life. As he was mocked and ridiculed and put down and all of those things that happened to him, as he ran around with these disciples who were often confused and didn't quite ever get it, as he was being pecked to death by all the people who needed more of what Jesus could do in life, Jesus continued to point to life and resurrection. Hope beyond the moment, hope in what is to come, hope because there is life in God. And I'm convinced, as I read the New Testament scriptures, the Gospels, that Jesus had a mantra for his very own life as he faced all of that, where he walked around most of the time from village to village saying, I have hope, I have hope, I have hope. And when he got there, he was then able to do what God needed done in that place. Because again, Jesus' face was up. He was looking in worship toward his Father and pointed toward the resurrection. We as people of God need to continually declare that despair will not own us. That despair will not have a say within our life. It may be there in the moment, but we will live beyond it, whatever challenge that is. And I could be here for hours with you just popcorning all the different kinds of challenges that we face. We could talk about education concerns, human trafficking, security issues, global issues, the political machinery mess in which we live, the issues that our youth are rising up and having to face too young and too early in their life, issues throughout all the countries of the world as they overcome food insecurities and the ability to actually have a life, clean water issues, all of that. It can seem overwhelming, amen, really quick? Amen. Yeah, just start totaling it up and you just almost get to a place of apoplexy, totally frozen, not even knowing what to do. Well, I said last week, through all generations, for all human beings of all time, we're faced with incredible challenges. This world has way more than it can handle. That's why it needs God. We are challenged. As you heard in the book of Hebrews today, this litany of challenges that those followers of God experienced in their life. Israelites fleeing the Egyptians. You know that story well? Yes? So they're living in slavery, totally in captivity, working, making bricks all day long. And here Moses comes to Pharaoh and says, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, okay, go ahead, remember? And they head on out. And my guess is they packed way too much junk to take with them. Probably figured that out there once they got out a few miles. This is really a heavy bag. I should have taken some stuff out. But then they look back, and of course they're being chased down because Pharaoh's whole plan was get them out in the wilderness and we'll just slaughter them. In that moment, they said to Moses, well, why don't we just go back? Why don't we just live in that moment of slavery? It was better back then. They didn't even recognize, I think, what they were saying, right? How could that have been better? They had lost their hope. Hope for a better future. Hope for a new tomorrow. Did you all know that in the genocide that happened in Rwanda here in the last several years between the Tutsis and the Hutus, that 94% of the people there declare themselves as Christian? 94% of these two groups declare themselves as Christian. And what did they do? They slaughtered each other. Raped, pillaged, burnt down, totally destroyed. Now, I'm not saying God will ever count anybody out. I'm not saying God won't bring about new life in that place. But I am here to tell you, you cannot declare yourself a Jesus follower and go out and live that way. You cannot give your life to that because that's not of God. They had lost all hope in God's vision for humanity, and they made it about themselves. You get that? You follow me there? Well, this is what goes on in the book of Hebrews. We got whole cities destroyed by war. Rahab being totally terrorized. People being fed to the lions and the fiery furnaces. Swords and chains, torture chambers, stoning people to death. People destitute and persecuted and tormented. No safe place to call home. It's a big wow, isn't it? What incredible odds to face. And yet those folks kept going. They did not give up. They did not throw in the towel. They did not quit because their eyes were fixed on God. This is what we hear in Hebrews. The writer is clear after this list of challenges. If you want to live this journey of faith, then you need to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. He's the one who shows us how to live through it. Thank God we have Jesus. Thank God that God sent Jesus into this world to show us what life and love can really look like and what hope can look like in the midst of a hopeless world. And that reading that we read today, it ended with saying, do not grow weary or lose heart. Well, how do you do that? Again, Lord, I'm tired. Who here hasn't been really tired, really fatigued, and really hopeless? Well, in that declaration, Lord, I'm tired, we then say, I need you. I need you because you are my hope. So some snapshots, church, from this summer, which I think have been beautiful symbols of hope among us. You know, this was the 36th year of going to Mexico and a powerful ministry. As a matter of fact, we did a youth thing a week ago out at a lake. And one of the kids there, her name is Mia, and I was talking to her, and I said, you got to go to Mexico next year. And she goes, oh, yeah, guess what? She's brand new, showing up to the youth group. And she said, by the way, my uncle went 35 years ago to Mexico. Talk about a small, connected world. How random is that? But why I wanted to share this is the kids who went this year needed hope, just like those kids who traveled 36 years ago. And the kids who lived in that orphanage back then and the kids who live in that orphanage today need that hope. We are better together and we need each other on this journey of life. We bring life when we spend that kind of time together. Well, at the end of our trip, we were able to sit with Eduardo, the orphanage director. And through some tears and stress and pain that he's feeling, he was able to share the struggle that he's in. Throughout the world right now, running an orphanage is a hard and difficult enterprise. The world makes it more and more difficult and more expensive all the time. And in Mexico, they recently came out with regulations that said that boys and girls can't live within the same structure. And this has been an orphanage for both girls and boys. And even though they have this beautiful place, a place that they can call home, they're telling him he needs to build a building across the street and move the boys over there. Well, he's used most of his savings and resources to get to that place of sustainability. And he's now struggling to say, can I keep going? Can I keep going? Maybe I need to quit. But I believe it was in and through our mutual conversation of saying, how can we have hope together? What is it that we can do together to get through this for a brighter future and a better day? And in the weeks and months ahead, as we hear more from Eduardo, we'll be sharing stories with you of how we can come alongside and do more support for this tremendous ministry in Mexico. Can I just get a quick raising up of hands if you've been touched by that ministry in Mexico? I just want to quick see. Quite a few. Yeah, absolutely powerful. Well, Puerto Rico. Some of you know that we were in Puerto Rico here recently. We were going to Haiti with all the government issues there. We had to redirect. So proud of this group because they actually bought the new plane tickets and JetBlue didn't work with us. We didn't give up. We went with group missions to Puerto Rico to help do hurricane recovery work. Yes, it's been 2 years since that hurricane hit that island, but the woman you see in this picture, her name is Ilda, and we were sent by a group to work with her throughout the week. Her roof had been totally destroyed, and water was leaking into her home, just pouring in. And a group a couple weeks before we got there actually fixed the roof, 2 years later. And we were there then fixing the ceilings and then painting the whole structure and, again, beautifying her home, giving her home back to her. Well, every day she would walk around that house. And the first day you could sense some discouragement, but each day head up a little bit more, a few more smiles, a little bit more joy. And every day that we were there at her home, she cooked us a meal. Ilda makes $700 a month. That's it. And she made this phenomenal Puerto Rican dishes for us. And we would sit on this little back patio. She took out some dressers from her bedroom, and she sat there in whatever chairs we could muster up, and it was true communion. It was a feast of life. We sensed the hospitality of God joining us together. And we often would pray together. And on the last day, we prayed through our tears, and she prayed for us through her tears. It was absolutely incredible. Again, showing up with some hope to make a difference. It's amazing what God can do when we make ourselves available. I haven't even had a chance to talk to Val yet since she's been back from El Salvador. But y'all 10 years ago helped build a church there, and there was a rededication ceremony that happened at the 10-year anniversary. And then they worked out in the villages with refugees and kids doing all kinds of amazing things. And one of the stories that she posted on Facebook is of the picture on the right. And there are people kneeling down. Well, they were part of a ceremony where 14 people were ordained as new pastors in El Salvador on the day that they were there. Church, do you realize how difficult life is in El Salvador? The political machinery is totally broken, the corruption that's there, the drug culture, the kinds of issues that people face. And yet 14 people said, "Sign me up. I'm there." The church is God's greatest instrument for bringing healing and hope to the world, and I will do it. We have a hard time raising up pastors in the ELCA in the United States of America. And right there in El Salvador, in some of the harshest circumstances, people are saying, "Yes, Lord, send me." I think that's a vision of hope. God is not quitting. God is not throwing in the towel. God is just getting started. Well, Vacation Bible School here in our midst. A week where we celebrate multiple generations all coming together all throughout this building in this space. And it's a week where we truly look like our whole surrounding culture of all of our families in the beautiful world that God has created right here in Des Moines and our surrounding suburbs, where kids hear the story of God. And they have fun and laughter and play. And they go out a little bit more hopeful for the life that they're called to live. A beautiful vision of hope. And then, of course, Camp Shoshone, or as I say, Shoshone in Idaho, part of Luther Haven. We got back on Friday night. Yes, our van got hit going down the interstate. A 20-year-old and his friend were driving down, and they decided to bumper tag the van and bent the whole bumper end back. We're thankful our group was okay. And the big blue bus kept the wheels turning. But there were 55 of us over on the other side of the mountain, and the theme was out of this world. You might see some photos on social media of the camp experience. There were lots of times we were dressed up as aliens. Don't worry, we're not doing a visitation. It was just for that week. We're really not aliens. But we learn about a God who's out of this world and how we're called to live a life that's out of this world as we follow Jesus. Sometimes being subversive. Sometimes being more loving and more hopeful and joyful than the culture around us, because it's God's call on our life. I think you'd be really proud of the kids and the adult mentors and the college kids who went, and Miranda, your staff folks, and our summer intern who helped put all of it together. It was an amazing week of immersing in God's story of life. Well, church, I could go on with that, but what I want to say in all of those things, you see, we need to talk more about hope. We need to share stories of life and transformation. We need to give our lives to creating hope in our world. And so I want to end with this. This was written by a bishop long ago, I think in Michigan, and it's been used throughout the world. And it's a powerful statement of how we are called to be prophets of a future not our own, just like the writer of Hebrews and throughout the biblical story. Here are the words. It helps every now and then to step back and take the long view, the really long view. Even though we want it now, remember, it's the long arc of change. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it's even beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. And so nothing we do is complete, which is a way of saying that the kingdom always lies just beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program ultimately accomplishes the church's mission. No set goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant the seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We can't do everything, and there's a sense of liberation in knowing that. This enables us to do something and to do it really well. It may be incomplete, but it's a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and to do the rest. And so we may never see the end results, but that's the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders. We're ministers, all y'all ministers of God's grace, not messiahs. There's only one Jesus. And we're prophets of a future, not our own. Church, can you see it? Can you look out just far enough to see that God is continually birthing a vision of life and hope for all people everywhere? Remember, I asked you, what breaks your heart? What breaks God's heart? Are you willing to bring those together and work for the transformation of that suffering, that point of pain in our world? Knowing Jesus is your hope, you can give yourself to it. May it be said, Grace Lutheran, that we are bringing healing and hope to this entire world. That there's no place we won't go. There's nothing that we can't do as long as God is the one doing the leading. God is doing the one who's doing the inspiring. And God is the one who's doing the raising up. Because, church, that is good news. That's good news. That's really good news. Church, it's really, really good news. Really, really good news. Really, really, really good news. And so go out, head up, shoulders back, people of resurrection, and bring hope. And God's people say, amen.
Thanks for watching. I hope this video can further the discussion of your relationship with Christ, either at home or maybe in the comments below.